Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together. Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Paul Lopez.
And I'm April Martinez. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. So before we get into our show lineup before we get into our show for July 21st, 2025, that's the date that it is, let us look at what our show lineup will be for this morning. We're going to continue our conversation on the 13th Amendment, and so we're going to be looking behind the scenes at the 13th Amendment, crime, control, and the Constitution. And we're going to be joined by attorney at law Audrey Matura to have that discussion. So that's going to be an interesting one. And then our second conversation, the Social Security Board, they're launching, or at least they've launched new features in their SSB online portal. And so we're going to be unveiling those features this morning. In our third conversation, we're creating community with the UWI's Alumini network. And last but certainly not least, learning the foundations of water safety with YWCA. It's the summertime and kids, the families, everyone, they're in the waters, right? And so we're going to learn more about how we can protect ourselves and families where water safety is concerned. April?
Excellent conversations to look forward to, Paul. But before we get into all of that and more, here are 5 things that you need to know before you leave the door this morning. In the first instance, we have the government pays $250,000 for a pre-used 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. Next up, we have the jet ski accident that took place over the weekend, and it leads to the death of a teenager. The Minister of Home Affairs releases Aaron Guzman's contract after News 5's FOIA request. Belize displaying dominance in the Central American Volleyball Tournament. And lastly, the KTV The Remix rocks on for the 3rd night in Season 7. So we have a lot of conversations to discuss this morning, Paul. But the first one that has really been all over social media and so on, and has been basically the talk of the town over the weekend, is that there is a new but old purchase of a 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Yeah, so we always say it as brand new second hand.
Brand new second hand.
Usually when I get a Lee markup and
it's not new, but it's new to us.
Right, it's still could the road.
Yeah.
Right. So this is definitely one of those conversations ongoing. On Friday, late Friday evening, the Public Service Union took to social media to publish what appears to be a letter, an engagement between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Carguy's owner,
yes,
if you would, Said Perdomo, right? So Carguy's is a well-known dealership, well-established and well-known dealership here in Belize City. And the correspondence basically, based on the PSU's post, revealed a conversation about the purchase of a 2024 Toyota,
Toyota Land Cruiser,
right? Toyota Land Cruiser for $250,000, and jaws dropped.
Yes.
Eyes rolled, and people were questioning, so why pay $250,000 for a vehicle? And guys, let's not use this graphic. Let's use the other one with the white vehicle and with the car guy sign behind it. That one, that's the wrong vehicle, right? So we're going to use, let's use the other graphic.
It's almost a similar color. It's kind of matted,
Paul. It's almost a similar color.
Almost a similar
that's what got us on Friday.
Yeah. So here's my thing about the price of it.
Let's start there.
For persons that I constantly am looking for a vehicle, right? Because we're always on the road. So I don't necessarily knock the price for a 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser because these models are expensive. For it to be a second hand and for it to be that price, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the need for it, right? And I think about why is it that anybody, not just a person in government, but just anybody would require such a vehicle. I don't know the intricacies of this model. I'm not sure what it is that it has in terms of gadget. I'm not sure what it has in terms of different features and if it takes good on certain roads. Because when I buy a vehicle, all of that I'm looking at, right? If it has a 4-wheel drive, yes. If it will turn into Bumblebee, all of that I think about because you want to have something that's good for the road. If you are aware of where the constituencies are and where the government buildings and offices are, you will know that this particular minister has to be on the road every single day, right? Coming from his constituency into the office in Belmopan every single day, and of course, having all of these meetings across the country. What I've learned also of late, and I follow the Foreign Affairs Facebook, the Instagram social media pages and so forth. I don't know how aware I used to be about how many foreign diplomats would come in to do meet and greets with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. But on a daily basis, I see him, conversing and meeting and so forth, and having all of these different conversations with various diplomats across the world. And I do have to say that in terms of having this sort of precedence, there does have to come with a little bit of professionalism. I wouldn't imagine that it has to be of such high-end luxury, but I would understand having a particular presence as a foreign minister. But the justification of it, I would want to learn a little bit more about those details.
This is very good input, April. I think what you're talking about, the presence or the presentation of a foreign minister, the chief, or what did former commissioner refer to him? And this is an official posting, chief protocol officer, right? Because at the end of the day, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, you have to present yourself and represent your country in a manner that
it's on a global stage,
right?
Really.
In a manner that perhaps luxury is not the best word, but in a manner that speaks to a certain standard, right? And so here we have the former commissioner of police, now CEO in the Ministry of Transport, who makes these sort of arguments in favor of the purchase of this vehicle. The first among the arguments is saying that you don't want your foreign minister in our Hilux, in our Nissan Rogue, in our GMC, Acadia. And listen, he also knows a lot about the cars.
Yes, because he himself is in that world.
The car dealership, because he's in that world, right? And secondly, he makes the argument that if you purchase the vehicle from the dealer, well, actually, I think he means not this dealer, but the dealership, like the actual makers, that you'll pay somewhere closer to the range of $500,000. And finally, he says that, and this was revealed on Friday and throughout the course of the weekend, that the vehicle wasn't paid for by taxpayers' money. Right? And so, yes, we hear these arguments. The question still remains, though. I think there's questions that arise in terms of what are the stipulations for the use of this vehicle. All right, we got to a $250,000 vehicle, but before that, understand that when you pay 250 grand for a vehicle, even if you pay for it, and even if it's, they go say, you only got 2,000 miles on it, right? Which is practically new. As soon as you drive that vehicle off of that parking lot, it starts to depreciate in value, right? So it starts to go down in value. And so right off the bat, that $250,000 vehicle is not worth $250,000 anymore. That's just a fact across the board in terms of how the value of these things work. So you have a depreciating asset that depreciates really quickly, and so that speaks to whether or not we were prudent financially in this spending. Though it's not our money, it's a grant. But secondly, to my to my other point, what's the stipulations, what's the standard, what's the rules in terms of how this vehicle is being used? Is it that we're only using it when we engage our diplomats, our foreign partners, our foreign ministers, those who visit? Or is it a case where this vehicle is being used on a day-to-day basis for, in terms of, we have to go down the street, go down a meeting that may not be related to any sort of diplomat, but it's a Ministry of Foreign Affairs meeting. Is it a case where we're going to do at least soft launch our event, so we use the vehicle? Did the financier say, the grantor say, yeah man, we are buy this vehicle for so that you could use it for just ministry purposes in a whole, or is it that we are buy this vehicle for so that you could use it just specifically for this purpose? Because what happens is, the more you use it,
the more it depreciates.
The more not only it depreciates, but you got wear and tear and stuff like that. And then there's additional expenses for repairing this vehicle. There's additional expenses for even fuel. Now fuel, I don't know if they make money for fuel, but fuel, that comes from the taxpayers' money in terms of the purchase of fuel. So these are some of the questions that needs to be asked. The optics is not good from the public's vantage point.
What I every time we have a conversation, I think for me, when it comes to government vehicles and so forth, my irk is when I see them out on weekends, if they're not out for, if it looks like they're just going out and having a ball with it, because then you're no longer using it for the ministry purposes, you're using it for personal purposes, and then it becomes, that line of, oh my goodness, taxpayers' dollars at work, right? But I think in Belize, we have a very interesting culture where we're so close to our politicians. They're at length's reach, almost, right? The other day, I saw the PM kind of just like crossing the street, the speed bump to get from point A to point B without any security. And I said to myself, it was in that moment where I realized that we are definitely not at the other levels of political governance and people. We see our politicians like us, right? They are not at a particular pedestal where they're so high that we can't reach them, we can't converse with them. They're very, very available to us. And I think because they're very available to us, we have these different conversations, and we definitely should have these conversations, but we don't have those conversations in other foreign countries. Majority of the people don't even know what kind of vehicle their prime minister drives or their foreign minister drives, right? It's very, it's an interesting culture that we have here, where they're so at arm's length that we're able to know the vehicle that the foreign minister drive, and we get to have an opinion on it. I think for the bottom line is I want to know if the purchase is worth it, because for me, purchasing a vehicle like that means that you're not going to necessarily think so much about the depreciation, because like you rightfully said, you're going to be spending so much money on wear and tear, you're going to be spending so much money on repairs if it's used frequently, right? So that's my final opinion, but it was just something to think about.
And we don't know if the financiers they gave additional funds for those types of things. But where the optics is concerned, we got this culture and this behavior where we Crawford in general, like present ourselves as, you know, you look rich, your things look nice. I forget the term when they use colloquially.
We live above our means as a society.
And then when you realize you're broke, you're not got no money in your pocket, but at least you look rich, right? So you present yourself in this way. And we know and we understand as a culture that that's a backway thinking. That's a backway form of thinking, a backway form of growth, and a backway form of development. And we do that, we understand this wrong, and in a society where people on the ground talk about how much they're struggling, people on the ground talk about how challenging it is to purchase goods at the store, and how the money dollar no value the same that it was, and how they have to stretch their funds. When they see a purchase like this, regardless if it doesn't come out of taxpayers' money, people are asking, why are we trying to present ourselves in a manner that doesn't necessarily reflect the entirety of the situation that a lot of people in society are facing? And I think it's a valid question to ask, and it's a valid one to pose on the table. But it's certainly one of those discussions that we'll continue having. I don't know what's the difference between, like you said, the specs on this vehicle versus a $100,000 vehicle per se. Because $100,000, listen,
I just said
$250,000, that was nice house in this economy, right? So where we drive there, and I know that we money. I always say that, but kind of say that the grant money, but you the drive one house, almost fully furnished house, right?
And that's why I asked about the features.
That's a part of what rubs people the wrong way. Unless the minister or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs come today and say, Paul, you the talk a lot. Cause drive this vehicle and feel how you feel. I don't think I will ever get a chance.
I think you are saying nothing after that.
Listen, give me a ride, like make I test it for a day, and I will tell you no.
But just speaking about the way, because that's a global issue, by the way. It's not just a Belizean thing, but just talking about the way that we think about if it's worth the money, if it's worth the pricing. It brings us to our other conversation, Paul, where you had a couple of weeks ago sent in that FOIA to the Ministry of Home Affairs in reference to Aaron Guzman's contract. He is the advisor to the Ministry of Home Affairs and New Growth Industries. And so we were able to get a response from the minister. We were able to see the details of his contract, to see that it was kind of like a misconception that he's only the advisor to the CEO. Apparently, he's the advisor to the entire ministry, including the Minister of Home Affairs. So there were a lot more details of his contract that warrant the justification of his $70K a year pay. And it's only a year contract that he has so far.
Yeah, right? So just a couple of things on this. I think what was listed in that contract is quite revealing. The minister had said that this is not a crony contract, and I hear him on that. Now, looking at what the contract reveals, I'm beginning to question, how is it that we're putting so much responsibilities, ministry responsibilities, on this one individual? In fact, I almost want to switch my position from whether if this man deserved 70 grand to why not pay this man more? Because
all the
responsibilities, and to question, why are we so reliant on him to essentially lead or chart a course, one for the new growth industries, and I'm not certain to this point still, there are questions as to his qualifications in that area, because we know he comes from a policing background. But in terms of researching and developing strategies for law enforcement, where's also I asked, what's the commissioner's input in that aspect? I don't know if there is. I would imagine there is. But also, he has a lot to do where these, he has a lot to do with guiding and charting the course. I'm just saying it's a lot for the place on this person. Individual. He's getting a good salary for it, but if he has so much responsibilities and there's so much for him to do, then doesn't it to an extent negate the role of the chief executive officer in the first instance?
I don't think so. So here's my short take, and I want to keep it brief because I don't want to go into the 13th Amendment conversation. So here is my hot take. I think that when it comes to the growth and development of our population, with everything comes, certain challenges. And I find that the way that we have been functioning as a government, as a society, you do have to make certain changes in the way that we make decisions. Perhaps there has to be more perspective based on Aaron Guzman's lens versus, the CEO versus the minister and so forth. Having more of that sort of input, I guess, would lead to other solutions. And right now we have, like I said, this 13th Amendment conversation coming up. What has been the talk in that ministry? What has been Aaron Guzman's take on that? What has been CEO's take on that? I think a CEO in this instance is somebody that is managing the overall functionality of the ministry. That doesn't
mean administrative?
Yes.
And that's about it?
I don't think that's all. And I've never been a CEO, no want that kind of responsibility, but I would imagine that it does come with a lot of administration work.
Guide, though.
You have to guide,
you have to be able to,
yes, all of that. And so I do think that with the growth of the ministry, you would require somebody else's perspective and advice in it. It would be amazing if they would come and sit on the couch with us and have that conversation as to the ins and outs and the structures of that ministry.
I just have to say kudos to Minister Musa for furnishing us with the documents.
Yeah, they have nothing to hide.
It shouldn't have to be a case, though, where we're pressing for this sort of public information via a FOIA request. You say I'm going to give you the thing. Just run the documents.
Agreed.
But, we had to go through the process, and fair is fair. The documents were released. Let me just say something, though.
Sure.
Also on the vehicle that it needs to be mentioned. These government vehicles also have to be insured.
Yes.
Right? We need to talk about no regular insurance, and insurance is expensive.
Yes.
Right? So
also
that's also something you have to consider with that vehicle.
We didn't touch on it on Friday, but there was that topic on GPS tracking for government vehicles. Is that going to be something that we're looking at closely?
I don't know which minister want their vehicle get tracked.
I think it's one of those things where we've been talking about, not necessarily ministers, but we've been talking about the ways that they utilize the government. You were asking about how this vehicle is going to be used. Is it going to be used for this special occasion only? Is it going to be used for everyday purposes? I think for the tracking of the vehicle is more for transparency for us, that our tax dollars are not being wasted. But I don't know. I think that's a whole other conversation on its own.
We don't have all the
time in the world. But lastly, we just want to remind our viewers that KTV The Remix is, the third episode is tomorrow. And of course, it is taking place at the Bliss at 8 p.m. And you can purchase your tickets here at our GBM studio on Conant Drive or at 88 Shopping Center. You don't have a favorite?
Yeah.
I have a couple. I have a couple of favorites. I've been watching it online. I hear that people have watch parties.
Yeah.
They have an entire, setup for how they watch KTV. I don't necessarily have a fancy setup, but I really enjoy watching it on my TV, and then I follow on the comments online. But yes, it is tomorrow, the third episode of season 7, so you don't want to miss KTV The Remix. But I do encourage people to go in person because this season, I feel sorry for the judges. It is a very, very tight competition. So far, everybody has been excellent, but I have somebody in mind that I think would win.
Yeah, it's all about the votes at the end of the day. And so these contestants, they have a hard task, and I know a lot of them are working hard to get those votes. And so you as the supporters, you can do your part by supporting your favorite contestants through votes.
And of course, these are just some of our hot takes on these topics that we thought you need to know before you leave the door. Let us know in the comment section below if you have a particular topic that you'd like to talk about, and engage, because we really want to hear from you. But moving into our show for today, let's get an update from the folks at the National Meteorological Service with the weather. And here is our forecast for today, brought to you by the folks at the National Meteorological Service. Today's forecast is sunny with some cloudy spells today and clear to partly cloudy tonight. A few showers or isolated thunderstorms will linger mostly over some coastal areas this morning, and then over some inland areas by midday. Otherwise, shower activity will be isolated. Moving into today's temperatures along the coast, we have our highs for today at 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Inland will see 94 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's going to be really, really hot today, guys, inland. And over the hills, it will be 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Our lows along the coast will be at 82 degrees, inland at 72 degrees, and over the hills at 68 degrees. Our extended forecast, it looks like it's going to be about 88 to 89 degrees in terms of our update, and then later in the nighttime the temperatures will drop at around 72 to 75 degrees. And in our astronomical forecast for today, in our astronomical forecast for today, the sun rose this morning at 5:28 a.m. and it will set at 6:29 p.m. Our moon set is at 3:51 p.m. and our moon rise is at 3:03 a.m. Our marine conditions, the sea state will be slight to light chop, and our winds will be blowing from the east to northeast at 5 to 15 knots. The tides for today, our high tide this morning was at 6:11 a.m. Our low tide for this morning, for this afternoon, is at 2:10 p.m. And our next high for today is at 8:38 p.m. Tomorrow's low will be at 12:40 a.m. And that concludes our weather update for this morning, brought to you by the National Meteorological Service of Belize. Back to you, Paul.
Excellent. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation on the 13th Amendment, crime control, and the Constitution. We'll be right back. Vote for your favorite KTV contestant by texting the number of votes followed by a space, then your contestant's number, and send it to Smart Code 585. Here are this week's contestants.
If you look into her eyes, you'll see the strand of a line. They're saying, this is my message to you. Take my breath away if only you would stay.
you didn't dip on the grind. Just bear this in my mind. These streets don't love you like I do.
Wrap my arms around you. Of a woman like you. Oh, I don't deserve it. To experience to be taken for a stroll. To experience for someone to rock and roll. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time.
We were meant to be. Girl, you've always been my lover. Always been my lover. You don't mind when you waste your time coming up with some stupid line, influencing the youth and it's not a line or take a line.
You can change the world today, and I'm living proof that crime doesn't pay.
Remember, voting ends on Sunday at midnight, and don't forget to tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on Great Jubilees Media.
Oh man, one more scroll and my data is done.
Wait, who said anything about running out? Smart just dropped a more powerful plan that now includes social media data, so you can scroll till your fingers cramp. Visit any Smart showroom to sign up today because connectivity just got even better. Smart, bringing people together.
This is the new era of the Mexican Caribbean. A whole spectrum of colors and hues, multi-dimensional cuisine, holographic beaches. The true new era is within you.
We at Fulltech Systems understand that technology isn't just a tool, it's a game changer. At home, smart devices and AI are revolutionizing daily life. In education, tech is making learning more interactive and accessible for students and educators alike. For businesses and government, it's driving innovation, streamlining operations, and unlocking growth, leveraging tech for better services, infrastructure, and security. At Fulltech Systems, we help you thrive with cutting-edge solutions, partnering with leaders like Dell, HP, Microsoft, APC, Fortinet, Cisco, and Tomy Inc. We deliver the right products for your needs, whether it's boosting efficiency, improving customer engagement, or scaling operations. Connect with us and let's drive innovation together. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you come for the price, but stay for the service.
This is our first conversation for this morning, and it's all about the 13th Amendment, that proposed bill in the National Assembly that we're learning more and more about as the weeks go by. And to give us some further insight, some legal perspectives on this topic, we have joining us on set this morning none other than Attorney at Law Audrey Matura. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, and I hope I could give you all some political perspective as well as some social perspective, because it has those kind of implications too. But thank you for having me. I mean, it's a matter that's very close to my heart for the Belizean people, so I'm glad to be here to explain whatever you all want.
I think that it was very, very kind of you, first of all, to share your experience with the online public last week on Wednesday. Because for as much as it was open to the public, I feel like majority of the public was not present. So it was, I think, very important that there was a live, there was somebody there to say, everybody else who couldn't make it, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
I think that first, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the 13th Amendment, we've been hearing a lot of legal minds having this conversation. But when we ask the general public, I don't know if you saw it in our news item last week, majority of people still don't really understand what it is. And the reality is that it's already kind of embedded into our law. They're just now trying to put it into the Constitution.
Yeah.
So for our viewers and for the sake of those that might not really understand the legal jargon, what is this?
Well, I think if I want to put it into simple layman terms that we could feel like myself would understand, it is ensuring that we create a police state. And I say create a police state because it's a law that is ensuring that within our Constitution, the police can act with a lot of power. Now, the danger with that is that we know historically, and even recent, we've seen it, that police are not known to be able to control themselves when given power. So imagine they have power right now, and there's what we would call in their job, in the way they perform it, corruption. So giving them this absolute power, they will be even more corrupt. They will go unchecked. I want to say immediately that a lot of people who have criticized what we've said, which is the minority, say that we as attorneys are against it because the criminals are our best friend and we will have work if the criminals keep running about. And I need to explain this up front. One, the criminals, if they're locked up like that, we will have more work because they have rights and we can still sue the government for locking them up without reason. Two, the criminals that are running about and some that commit murder, people don't know it, but it's already your taxpayers' money paying for their legal representation. Our law says, and it's in our Constitution, that if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you when it comes to murder. Nobody can have a murder hearing without an attorney. So that is the level of ignorance we have in this country, where people don't realize that, hey, no matter what you say, you're paying. And you say we attorneys are benefiting from crime. Let me put this on the record again. Attorneys who practice before the criminal bar are very few. We have over 200 attorneys, and you always see about a handful of maybe 6 or 10 the most practicing before the criminal bar. That's not where the money is. The remainder are in the corporate world. That's where we litigate. I do very few criminal matters because what I will get paid to do a criminal matter is far less, trust me, far less than if I sue the government. So if you lock up these men and I decide to say, you know what, I'm going to specialize only in this, that's where my money will come from. And we will win the government, even if we go to the CCJ. So the millions that the government will end up paying these people, you will still be paying it for it. So best let's take those millions and rehabilitate those people.
You say the government, it really is the taxpayers.
Yes, the government meaning the taxpayers. I've not done a case yet where I've sued the government that I've not won, and that's Gazette. But those are the cases that don't make the news because you don't know that's where our money come from.
You spoke about a police state. In this proposed legislation, based on my understanding, and I could be corrected, the police can't act, how would they say it, this, in a vacuum. There has to first be, there's a process that begins with the Governor General and the National Security Council. So the police can't just go out and do these things, use these powers without first the higher-ups, one of the highest offices in the country, the Governor General, advised by the National Security Council. Doesn't that then create a balance?
No,
where this thing is concerned?
The Governor General and the National Security Council will not be out there when they are performing. The difference is you could say, oh, the Governor General have to stamp it. Let me tell you, no insult to our Governor Generals over the year, but they have actually no input. They're just a rubber stamp. That remains the system in Belize. The National Security Council will be right there biased because they're all people who have worked in this field. So they will not look at the social impact. They will not look at all the other impact. They will look like, oh, the optics, we need to solve it now. And so then they go to the Governor General. Have you ever seen the Governor General refuse to sign anything put before him or her? Never, because it's not their role to be a check and balance. It's their role to just stamp. Remember, they're a head of state. This go back to 101 constitutional law, where we are a constitutional democracy, where our head of state remains the king, because there's a king now, and the Governor General is his representative here, with absolutely no power to debate or say. Yes, the law says that if they're not satisfied with certain people, they could move them. They've never used it because of the political crisis that would create. So although the law does say what you say, it says that the Governor General, so let me read it so people know. An order made by the Governor General under this section shall not be effective unless it contains a declaration that the Governor General is satisfied, on the advice of the National Security Council, on reasonable grounds, that the declaration of the area as a special area is necessary in the interest of public safety or public order in specified areas, or for the purpose of preventing, detecting, or controlling crime in the area. That's a lot being said.
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it is.
As you notice, it says the Governor General must be satisfied. So the Governor General have to have basis on which to say, I will accept this legislation. But the truth is, the Governor General doesn't go out and check for him or herself. It's the National Security who will say, I think you should put a declaration.
Is that where the reasonable grounds come from?
Yeah.
Based on reasonable grounds.
Unreasonable grounds.
Where is that?
It's a figment of their imagination. It's the politicians who are desperate, unable to solve crime, who say, why, we have to use this. When I went to the presentation and I did that live, it's because I realized that it's the only consultation they would have, and I thought people should hear. I reached like maybe 20 minutes after it started. At that time, the representative for the police, Assistant Commissioner Bart Jones, was telling the people why we needed this legislation, and I never forgot his term. He said, it's a modern tool for policing, to help police. It's not modern. Dean Barrow put this in law since 1993. It's under the Crime Control and Criminal Justice Act. Before that, the legislation was a different name, and I brought all of that. If we have time, I will dissect it for you all. But it is not new. Let me tell you what's a modern tool. When they told all of us that we had to register our cell phones because they will track crime street, tell me which case has been solved by tracking anyone's cell phone. You know what the criminals do? They thief your phone and they're using your number, or I don't know how they manage to get phone registered under people's name, but they have burned phones. So that's, using technology is a modern tool of policing.
But where the reasonable ground is concerned, saying on that part of the legislation, was that not one of the contentions in court when the state of emergencies were challenged? The government or the authorities had the weight of trying to prove that there was reasonable grounds to instate a state of emergency in the instance of the 2020 state of emergency, but they were unable to do that.
And so they lost that case.
Right, so they lost that case. It proved to be insufficient, the reason, the rationale, at least in that case.
Right, but then there was another case where a different judge held differently. But you have to look at each case separately as to what was reasonable grounds. So what would be, they didn't define reasonable grounds. So
they didn't.
Reasonable grounds, so a state of emergency, because so the public know, what they're really doing is the same state of emergency that has not worked all these years is being placed in our Constitution. And the reason it's being placed in the Constitution is because it's been written in a way that you can't challenge it. Because all those SOEs that have happened, if we attorneys want, we could find every one of those people and sue the government and we'll win. And the government realized that. Some of us, although they give bad names to the attorneys, we did not take it on, but a few decided, let's do it. So what this is doing, they're saying, okay, this state of emergency, if we place it in the Constitution, when it is happening, because the Constitution, which is your supreme law, is saying all your constitutional rights are suspended during that time. So let me give it in an example. So they declare your area a special area, and they're looking for Tom Harry because they believe that he's a criminal. And somebody told them, hey, in Medina, Paul House, and maybe he's related to your wife or a distant cousin or somebody you went to school with, and maybe they did pass and say hi. Police, not believing you're hiding that person, will not call you and say, hey, your friend may pass by, then just broke into your house. Hold you, search you, hold you and your wife for a couple hours or for the more than 48 hours.
Temporarily removing your rights.
Because your right is suspended. Your right. So right now, one of your rights is that police cannot just arbitrarily enter and search your house. But under this suspension, they can arbitrarily enter and search your house. One of your rights is that you have the right to an attorney, but because of this provision, you can't call an attorney. One of your rights is that if they don't charge you within 48 hours, they have to release you, but that right has been suspended. You won't be released. One of your rights is that you also have, when detained, your family can come visit you. All of those rights are suspended. Why? Because they have reasonable grounds to believe that this is a hot area or a special area, and so it doesn't matter if you're a law-abiding citizen. Your right for that moment is suspended. Even your right now we have a right to record what's happening. At that point, they can take away your phone because your right to hold property has been suspended. All your rights from Section 2 to Section 18 of the Constitution are being suspended.
So then should people be afraid or feel a sense of security knowing that a state of emergency or that my area has been declared a special area when there's an escalation of crime within my community? Afraid that police is going to knock down my door, or safe and secure that then they deal with this situation and me and my picnic could walk the street and go to shop, go buy, knowing that we can come back home.
Okay, I like how you put that. So it could go either way. I've seen one or two people say, oh, well, if I'm not involved in a life of crime, so me not have to worry, that's only for the criminals. You're wrong. For two reasons. The police may not necessarily know that you're not really involved in a life of crime, because sometimes they profile you based on some relative or something, or misinformation by your own neighbors who now want to spite you, and they say, hey, oh, no, know this, but you see that Paul there? He only up on TV, they pretend drugs they pass through. And so you don't know who is malicious, they come to your house. You don't know where they get the information from, because they don't have to tell you, because they only have to have reasonable suspicion, and someone squealing on you is reasonable suspicion. So you, the law-abiding citizen, could be affected. Or it could be that, look, you are really law-abiding and everything like you say, but one of the police officers have a grudge against you because you end up the play with freaking girlfriend, where you never know you play with freaking girlfriend. And Belize is so small, you never know. And I've seen this happen to me, where I dealt with a case and I never knew this one was the family and why they hate me. So here you are now, you're just doing your business, but police is MFE. I mean, I always want to get them. No. So they use their power, and it has happened. It has happened.
Belize is small.
And you are now roughed up in the system, but they're not worried because they think, oh, under the Constitution, Paul's rights are suspended, and I can proceed and do that, and he won't be able to.
Will I be able to challenge it?
And no, well, and the other thing, and I am paralleling to the U.S. now. You saw how the presidents of the U.S. say, oh, only illegal immigrants we will take out, but even the legal ones got affected, because the minute you allowed the suspension of the rights of everyone equally, you created the room where proper innocent people are being affected. And what did they do? They all brought masks. So usually when I do a case, and I've done several, I have to say, do you know who the police officer is? Because you have to name them. No, these masked people, no badge or anything. Because what you all are missing is that in this legislation, there's a special provision where they can appoint an auxiliary force. Now, we don't know who the auxiliary force is, so we already know who is the command police officer. But we don't know, and I'm giving the extreme, right? So here they appoint people where the former police officers, or people who are politically appointed, because, well, I know the minister and I need one lead job man. So we are bringing them from Orange Rock, and we are bringing them from Corozal, we are bringing them from PG, we are giving them this power, then their mask and everything. You are a special auxiliary, you're getting paid. You don't know who I am. So I go into your house and do all of that. How do you know who this person is? So you have the anonymity of that person that affects your ability to complain as to who they are. And remember what I told you. Because all your right is suspended, you cannot be recording. And if you have cameras, they can remove that. So anything that would have helped your case is removed. And yes, you could go fight it, but with limited evidence.
Yeah.
So you will just say against the government, and a number of people went, you can't even pinpoint, you don't even have a recording like some people at least have now, because all your rights are suspended. And when I say that, Belizeans, don't take it lightly. We have such liberties and rights that you take for granted. The fact that I could get up and drive any hour of the day is a right. And an SOE, they could put a curfew. So now you need to get to open your eyes by 6 o'clock, but you can't leave your house 5:30 because what? You have to get here. And you might go and they say, okay, we can give the media a special pass, so you get one. But what happened to the security officer who has to go, who happens to be a poor black man, who then they have all kind of things to say about? It increases all the other problems, and it will not work. You see, if it would work, I would quickly say, let's do it.
Yeah.
But we had SOE 2018. And from thereafter, we've had up to just this year.
Yeah.
Has it reduced crime? No. Has it reduced the severity of crime? No. Has it reduced the amount of people living a life of crime? No. Has it reduced poverty, that is one of the factors in crime? No. Has it improved police surveillance? No. My problem is that the basic police work that could help solve crime, they're not using.
But Audrey, we've been here before. It almost seems a little bit of a deja vu that we've been having this conversation about putting certain legislations like this into the Constitution. I don't know if them like 10 years ago or so, if I can recall.
Yes.
And it didn't work. They didn't do it. But what was happening then that it didn't occur as it would be different now?
I like when you ask me the history. So in 1993, when the United Democratic Party instituted this legislation, I was a news reporter. I remember going to the press conference. Dean Barrow said that they'll declare hot spots. And they had passed a law, I don't remember the name of it because it eventually merged into the Crime Control and Criminal Justice Act. At that time, I remember one of the first areas that was locked down was by that Queen Square Market area. And who were some of the first victims? The vendors who come from our district to bring their produce. And they still didn't capture any hard criminal and convict them. On the contrary, some of those suspected criminals that I knew existed, when I came back as an attorney, were campaigning for certain politicians, were the ones driving the voters to certain houses to get paid to go vote. So that's the hypocrisy of it. So I try to keep my mouth shut, because next thing they can shoot me for telling the truth. But thank God some of those criminals have since died because they kill up each other. But it takes me to the point where we hear the politicians, they say it, and the heads of police saying, we know who they are. So if you know who they are, why are you locking up all of us? Why are you locking down my whole area? Go after them. You know why they don't go after them? Because some of the same senior public officials and some of the same politicians are connected with them and the drug trade.
What sort of policing then works to target these sort of flare-ups in these hot spots or in these special areas that does not include this level of force and this type of constitutional legislative backing?
Okay, so I'm old enough to tell you there was a different technique of policing years ago. Years, at least 5 decades ago and long before that. Basic policing used to be, well, you already know who are the criminal elements, so you have a profile on them. But long before we have cameras and stuff like that, what we had were police who actually go and do the beat. They're on the ground. Now it's easier. So let's say I suspect that Paul is running drugs and guns. I don't want to get in trouble. I could call names of people running guns and drugs and helping these young men. And if you all pull up footage of when Dean Barrow had the truce with some of them, because a lot happened under the UDP. You see all their faces there. Some of them came with masks, some of them came with their bold face. So you know these are the people. So how come police are not doing their surveillance of their movements? A basic thing. Now we have drones. Now we have the capacity to wiretap. We have capacity to listen on your phone. And we have basic police surveillance. You know what always amazed me? When I hear the news that says, found property on an empty lot and so much gun and bullets. two things happens there that I can with certainty say. One is that I've had clients who are criminals. And they tell you a lot. When they trust you, they tell you a lot. And some of them tell you plain, mommy, sometimes they catch me drugs, you know. But the same police tell me, if I hand in so much gun and bullet, they'll let me go. Or if I give you so much pound of weed, they'll let me go. I have one where I recorded it when the police went to pick up the drugs from the garbage can where they put it, but the person refused to testify and refused to go through the process.
So there is a blatant corruption between both entities.
So that's the one part of that. The second part, if you really know that abandoned gun and you won't just pick it up and carry it, you know, fingerprinting or anything. If I get intelligence that at lot 70, there is abandoned property, you think I want just go pick that up? Hell no.
Yeah.
I want to have somebody do the surveillance because somebody will come and pick it up. It's like when at customs they had found weapons in a barrel or whatever, and I'm not talking about the recent one, and they didn't know who it was going to be for, or they prematurely jump at it. I would have made the person come, collect it, carry it, and then stop them. So it's basic common sense police work.
But what you are talking about, Ms. Matura, with surveillance, that's about collecting evidence so that you don't run afoul of the law when you're doing your policing. One, I think surveillance takes time,
of
right?
Course.
Yeah. And so
and money.
In the immediacy of a flare up, you need to take action. And we know that those committing criminal acts, they also know their rights to an extent to say you can't come in at my house and arrest me or lock me up or search me outside of a state of emergency or a special area.
That's a lie.
Declared.
That's a lie.
Oh, you say they don't know they don't know their rights?
No, that's a lie that you can't do that.
Okay.
So this is it. So remember, under the police legislation and under the Constitution, if we know, we get good information, there's no SOE, this is a regular crime fighting. If we hear that there's a flare up at a house, maybe some crime is happening or some drugs they pass, you don't need an SOE to go in. Police have the right. This is what people don't understand, that what they want to enshrine in the Constitution and without even an SOE, police have the right, as it is, to go in any house and search for drugs and for weapons.
With a warrant?
Without a warrant. That's a right the police have. They took away that right from us a long time ago. That's the only 2 times that police can go without a warrant. I recently did a case where, again, we won the government because they went into the guy's house without a warrant and they came claiming to be searching for
drugs,
for unlicensed firearm. It turned out he did have his licensed firearm. It was a constitutional case. We won it on all the points, and it's a very technical thing. But why? Yes, police had the right to go into his house, arbitrarily search for drugs and ammunition. But in this case, they hadn't done their proper work. Their proper work was the records would have shown that the person had a licensed firearm. They searched and they found nothing incriminating.
So even if the evidence is circumstantial at best, they still have the right to go in.
Yes, they do. They do. And you see, but so if you challenge it, so they bust into Paul's house because we can't think they happened there. You don't have to have a warrant. It's a drug or possibly ammunition offense, or it could be a murder. Even for murder, you could go in because remember, police duty is to prevent crime, to detect crime, to act on it when it happens, and to help prosecute it at the end.
So then if this is all law, if this is already embedded into our legal system,
it's
why
the police
put it
failing
into...
to do it. This is the point I'm trying to make. Police already have all the equipment legally to do what they have to do. It's poor police training, poor resources to the police, poor police work, and they want... Sorry, that's my alarm.
That's the cue for us to take a break. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to jump into those all-important social and political perspectives as well. You don't want to miss this conversation. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
As an athlete, Orthopedic health is very important. Our bodies can be so strong and yet still so delicate. Injury is something that we cannot prevent. We could try to mitigate the risk of extreme injuries. However, it is very, very important that you know and understand your body.
As we get older, our bones are getting softer. It's hard to treat degeneration which already happened. The first treatment is lifestyle modification and the support of physiotherapists. I am Dr. Sergey Adonin, an orthopedic surgeon, and we are watching Caribbean Medical TV.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
My name is Leomar Langzert and I'm a teacher and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is the safety features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer with these online that Belize Bank offered is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We are here with attorney at law Audrey Matura. Conversation still surrounding the 13th Amendment. And of course, we wanted to jump into a different type of conversation with this topic. Like we had mentioned earlier, this particular amendment, they were trying to implement it under the Barr administration about 11 years ago, more or less.
Yes.
And it didn't happen, right?
Yes.
The attorneys came together and they opposed it. But we still haven't found any solutions apart from this.
Okay, so let's go to the history. 1993, it was part of the law under the Crime Control and Criminal Justice Act. They amended that law and in 2000, I think, and that's when they got the new name.
Okay.
So when it was first implemented by the then Barrow administration, the then opposition was up in arms saying it wasn't good, and I wish you all could find clips where they were up in arms. Anyway, nothing really much happened out of it. I gave you the example when the first area that was declared, how it affected the vendors. It just mellowed down, and they realized that part of the problem was that not so much that we don't know who the criminals are, but we were not able to convict these criminals. So again, there was a flare-up, and in 2011, the then Barrow administration again said, let us introduce preventative detention. So it's important to know the history to know why this has not worked. So I have a little clip here of what Mr. Barrow had said in the National Assembly. This was in May of 2011. He says, if we succeed in changing the Constitution, what we are doing is to introduce into the Constitution an enabling provision. In other words, as things now stand, you can't have a law that provides for the detention of citizens for more than 48 hours without a charge being laid, without being taken before a court, because the Constitution prevents that from happening. So this is what, so you know the law. You have 48 hours within to charge the person. You can't do it. The Constitution is protecting you that right. Good police work will mean that they will be able to arrest and charge you within 48 hours. And if you don't have it, that means you failed to investigate. But then you already, and you know what's interesting about Belize? Because I worked at the DPP's office. I was a prosecutor. And I'll tell you what is one of the problems. The police basically do usually get the right person. They have good intelligence, but they have very poor evidence gathering techniques. They believe that everything that will beat one confession out of them. So we then go into a voir dire, and of course you will not win on a confession like that. So instead of doing police work. So you don't send at the scene, you don't find out through a statement at the scene. Why you never gonna take fingerprint at the gun? Sometimes basic fingerprint, which is an old technique, is not being done. Thank God we have some cases where we've won by DNA. A basic thing, so one of the things that we attorneys managed to get out of court to defeat the cases is surveillance footage. There's a technique that you have to use, there's a way you have to do, there's a chain of custody and basic chain of custody. I had a case where the man who recorded the video cannot be found, but yet the police won't put in the evidence. So why the person can't be found is a whole different story. But the thing is, there was another way you could have gotten that same information, but you failed to do the chain of custody. Basic legal techniques that is not privileged to me, the attorney. Police have attorneys now, several, but where are they using that expertise? The DPP office is more staff now. The DPP office and the police have to work hand in hand to get guidance. When it's convenient, they say, and you've been at press conference, we've not pressed charges yet, we've sent the file to the DPP. But when they're ready, you don't get charged. You never go under the DPP. So it's poor. We don't want to accept it. It's poor police work. So when they say they need more tools, they don't really want more tools.
Have you sought to consider what fuels or contributes to this level of lawlessness that we're seeing within certain communities? Is it a case where you just have man where just angry with each other and they want to take revenge because, well, you do something to my family or my friend, so I'll do it back? Or is there a deeper social ill that one has to consider and address?
Okay. We are going now into the root of the problem and the long-term solutions. While I may not be no anthropologist and sociologist and everything, I do read a lot, and I've been on the ground. I've been in the prison system to work with young people. I've worked with a lot of victims of abuse, and honestly, I don't even have to invent the answer. The answer was given to us by Dr. Herbert Gale, whom you've had on this show several times, and which is, and I think I brought up, I want to quote a part that he used. I hope I printed the part that he said, listen to this. His was his closing remark at page 400 of the report he did. He says, the 274 youths involved in this aspect of the study went to great lengths to express how much the social structures have failed them, left them unsupervised, unplanned for, that's unplanned pregnancies, and without a sense of direction. Left on their own, many have got into trouble with the law and with their friends and neighbors. Consequently, many of them have been abused in various ways as they have no protective frame, neither from family nor the state. Their cry throughout the pair was that they do not want any more of the trouble. However, they ask that the social providers take the trouble to keep them out of trouble. Please, and he quoted what one of them says, "We don't want no trouble. Just help us through the troubled years. Who knows what we can become? Who knows?" Close of quotation.
I really like this.
That sums it up. Yeah. So I'm all enough to give you a little historical background. In the 70s, and maybe it started before, but in the 70s when I was growing up, a lot of our parents left Belize for a better life. That was just before independence. It so happened that a lot of the people who left were the Creole families. And a lot had to do with politics and a bit of race and a bit of racism too. So a lot of Belizeans left to the US, and it was easy to leave then, to get a visa and become legal there. When they left, many of them didn't take them children. Up to today, I meet children who feel that sense of abandonment, that their mom and their dad left and may have had more children there and never came. These same children now are being taken care of by granny, who too old, auntie, we don't have 12 picnic on, uncle went on drunkard, and these children then were left more on the street. They became involved in drugs, they became involved in early sexual activity. They were just mischievous, and just about that time in the 80s, this movie, Colors, came out with war and gang. And the human nature is that we all want to belong. You see how you have your family and how happy you are with your wife and your child and how that makes you feel? You as a grown man could remember how it felt different not having that immediate unit of yours and the joy it is now. Those children have never experienced that. The joy your daughter is feeling from now that she could feel the love even though she can't express it, those children never had that. So here you have a damaged brain. It comes down to basic human behavior now. You have a damaged brain to function in a society that have rules that you can't comply with because you never got the love, the discipline, the structure at home. That's why when that study says that they're saying the family structure failed them and the societal structure failed them, it is true.
Some people argue that this position takes away from these individuals taking personal responsibility for their actions and for their behaviors, and it's an argument that's out there, perhaps not against, but to add to what you're saying.
I'm glad you're the devil's advocate today, because it is not taking away responsibility from them. You'd have to understand and study more about the human being to understand why some of us survive and the other of us don't survive. So I came from a very abusive home situation. I could have ended up on the streets. My brothers could have ended up on the street. My sisters could have ended up on the streets. So what is the difference? I can openly tell you all that I went through therapy. I had to go through a whole realization to realize that I wasn't prepared in the family structure to help me. So what happens when you are in those terrible situations is that you need to survive. You're a child, you're in survival mode. And you have to find something to hold on to. It's unfortunate that we're split in two. There are those of us who hold on to a positive addiction, and there's those of us who hold on to a negative addiction. Those of us who held on to a positive addiction have survived. But we are not all same. Some of us are weaker in mind, and so those of us who held on to the negative addiction are the ones who are the problem.
The cliche survival of the
So what makes a difference? What makes a difference? So I like to use myself as an example. So I didn't know all of this when I was growing up. I was in survival mode. Every time my dad beat the shit out of me, I had more anger, and I used to think how I could kill this MFE. So you have built up all this anger, and if placed in the wrong environment, I may have become a killer. Think about it. But the more my dad told me that I wasn't good enough, the more I said I was sure this living mother, you know what, that's not me. So I did not realize I took on a very obsessive addiction of becoming a workaholic. And it is that workaholic in me that made me achieve. But it doesn't make me an unbroken person, you know. It just makes me a traumatized person who happened to take on an addiction that addiction led to positive results. So when I end up being sick and then almost died, and I triggered my traumas and then triggered my PTSD, and I became unscrambled, I could see myself being two different persons. And I asked my therapist, how come I operated all these years that I thought I was perfect? I worked hard, I did everything right. And then he explained to me how trauma works and why my positive addiction helped me. Now take on another relative of mine, who I won't say his or her name, who had the same environment, got a lot of beating. What did he become? An alcoholic, a drug user, unable to keep a family. But what were the addictions? Growing up, he or she's addiction was to go around the neighborhood and fight with the kids, to thief money from people, little 5 cents, 10 cents. So that person did not have the same trajectory. Up to today, that person denies that he or she has a trauma. But when he or she drinks, and the trauma comes out, the sense of abandonment and abuse, and that person cries like a baby, it breaks my heart.
But
so that's not the answer the politicians want to hear. They're like, Audrey, you're too soft on that. But Laws and societies are created by individual human beings, and we are broken human beings that are going into crime, and we don't want to solve that because that song tonight we want to lock them up.
But I want to end by this conversation because time has we done time gone long time, Audrey.
Gosh.
But I really wanted to pinpoint these 4 different solution based on Dr. Gale's study that you brought, because I think that we want to fast pace and solution everything now, right? And in his book, which I really appreciated, he has here the 4. Well, he has more, but these we're just gonna set on these 4. Focus on reducing squalor. Create a ministry of youth from sports and culture that can be included, and it's urgent. It's necessary to have these recreational activities.
It is.
The third one he has here: carry out a geological assessment of the wetlands of the Delta of Belize City and the Keys, and create a frame of action related to squatting and building. Provide low-income housing as an alternative to squatting. And his final, which he has like a long, by the way, a long comment on that one. And his 4th one is set clear, realistic immigration structures and follow them. And they don't sound at all that they would contribute to solution-based for crime and violence in Belize, but these are all tied to the social issues that we keep discussing are problematic for foundational structures in society.
Unfortunately, we don't have time to dive into
all of
that.
that.
Just as we don't have time to dive into the political expediency component of this conversation. That's also a part of the discussion. Getting this thing done just for political mileage, because people they demand that we deal with the crime, and we only got a few years to deal with the crime, and so this is how we want to deal with it. We don't have time for all of that conversation.
2018 to now we had
thoughts.
2018 to now we had SOEs and it didn't work. I'll say this on a very more personal note and from a political social aspect. Dean Barrow was the one who introduced all these legislation. He was known as a constitutional luminary, and he could not solve it because he wanted to solve it the hard way. My disappointment, that I will say very public, is that the administration of Johnny Briceño, I never thought that they would have taken this stance, because when they were in opposition, they were totally against it, obviously for political mileage. But my bigger disappointment is that I know Mr. Johnny Briceño personally from when I was a teenager. I actually worked at his gas station to make it through sixth form. So I know of him, his family long before. He always came off to me as a more people person, more genuinely concerned for people, while Dean Barrow came off as very arrogant. So I thought that having a leader that came off as a more people person, despite what people have to say about him and his criticism about him, that's the aspect of him that I admired. So I never thought he would be allowing himself to be guided by advisors who is telling, boy, do this. That is a political suicide. Mr. Briceño, it did not work under the UDP. It will not work under the PUP. You will only make crime worse. What we do when we lock up these men is bring out even harder criminals. Since then, their techniques have gotten worse. Their callousness has gotten worse, and the age has now dropped to 10, 11-year-olds getting involved. The SOE will not work. What will you do when you put minors under SOE? That is the developmental years when they need guidance.
Yeah, you spoke about that.
So it's a pity I can't say more because there was so much more I wanted to diagose. If you all invite me back,
yes, you're always welcome to come back.
Go back.
I already heard it in our ear. We're bringing her back.
Yeah, this time gone by so quick. You know, I come ready.
We have some more guests waiting outside.
Tell them come tomorrow.
No.
With that, we're going to take a quick break, April.
Yes, and when we come back, it's all about the latest feature with the Social Security Board's online portal. We'll be right back.
Vote for your favorite KTV contestant by texting the number of votes followed by a space, then your contestant's number, and send it to Smart Code 585. Here are this week's contestants.
If you look into her eyes, you'll see the strand of my arm. They're saying, this is my message to you, you. Take my breath away if only you would stay.
Why you didn't dip on the grind? Just fear this in my mind. These streets don't love you like I do.
Wrap my arms around you. Oh, a woman like you. Oh, I don't deserve it. To experience to be taken for a stroll. To experience for someone to rock and roll. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time.
We were meant to be. Girl, you've always been my lover. Always been my lover. You don't mind when you waste your time coming up with some stupid line, influencing the youth. If it's not a line, I'll take a line.
You can change the world today. And I'm living proof that crime doesn't pay.
Remember, voting ends on Sunday at midnight. And don't forget to tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on Great Jubilees Media.
Let's all be safe during the rainy season. Belize Electricity Limited reminds you that heavy rains can cause flooding in your neighborhood and on roads. Avoid driving or walking in flooded areas, which can have hidden dangers such as debris and fallen power lines. Belize Electricity Limited cares about your safety. Please stay safe.
Welcome back. We are having a conversation about all of the Social Security Board's new features on their online portal. And joining us to tell us all about it is Miss Vanessa Vellos, and she is the Manager Communications and PR Officer over at SSB. And with her, she has Miss Arlene Neal, and she is the General Manager of Service Management over at SSB. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning. And so we just, before we get into the features themselves and so forth, for our viewers that have not joined the online portal.
Like yourself?
I have joined. I just saying, and I stand it. Why like sell me out so early? But how can they log in? How can they join and basically move themselves onto this platform?
Okay. Well, you're talking about those persons who have not joined,
yes,
right? And it's important for them to join. So I think they need to understand the benefits of the portal to try and encourage them to join. And so one of the points that we really want to convey this morning is that the portal transforms access, your access to the Social Security Board, right? And so it's very important for you to understand that via the portal, it reduces processing time, right? Everybody wants service and they want it as soon as it possible or now, right? And so that's one of the benefits that you get from the portal once you have a portal account. It also reduces long lines for the services that are offered on the portal. How many of you like to go and stand in a line for hours and hours? I don't know about you, but I avoid that like the plague. So the portal definitely brings convenience and value to you as an insured person, but you might not be familiar with that term. So I will say as an employee, as an employer, as a self-employed, and also as a pensioner, right? So what the portal does is it empowers you, right? You have your own account and you can track what's going on in terms of what you have applied for in terms of sickness benefit. You can make appointments for registration and also appointments for card renewal, for online submission. It eliminates manual forms. So again, there's that convenience that the portal brings, right?
Do we have data on how much of the working population have joined so far?
We have about over 66,000 persons registered in the from the employee segment, and we have over another 10,000 between doctors, our employers, and self-employed persons. We would like every single member who has a Social Security registration account to sign up for the portal. If you've ever worked 1 week in your life, that's one contribution. If you've ever worked 8 hours or more per week, that's a contribution. The portal shifts the work that Social Security does in terms of bringing that visibility to you, the member, the owner of that account, for you to be able to see your record.
Right, that was going to be my next question, because when I register to be a part of this portal, you all already have my history, my documentation.
We do. If your employer is paying.
If I am well, let's hope that your employer is paying.
And that is what it does.
Okay, ensure that your employer is paying.
It enables you to monitor your work history, and it enables you to ensure that your contribution record is correct. That for each week that you work, that your employer is paying. Not only paying, but remember that they're supposed to be paying based on the actual earnings that you make. They deduct from your salary, and then they complement that with their amount. That becomes your weekly contribution rate based on our contribution schedule that is to be paid in to the Social Security Board by the 14th of every month for that previous month. So at the end of July, an employer has until the 14th of August to make that payment. They can make it from the 1st of August through to the 14th. After the 14th, it starts to gain interest. Now, when you have your portal account, you're able to see that your employer is paying, that they're paying correctly. It helps you to monitor your contribution record because you have persons who've been working for all their life. It enables you to see your benefit record. For persons who access sickness benefit right now, we have sickness benefit online since the ending of January 2025. We process between 5,000 to 7,000 sickness benefit claims a month.
Wow.
We need to be more efficient. We need to be more relevant.
Need to be more healthy.
We need to be more healthy, exactly. And so it is not about recruiting more staff. It is about making the process more efficient, making it more accessible to our membership. And so you're able to see your sickness benefit online. A cute feature that comes with that is that we've engaged our medical practitioners. Right? We hear about the claim takes long, it's not correct, you have to send me back, you come back again with a form. The portal eliminates most and all of those. So we've engaged our doctors that there's a healthcare feature where if the doctor has a portal account, you, the member, also have a portal account. When you go to the doctor uses the online submission of a medical certificate for your sickness benefit. What you present your Social Security ID because you need to be accurate with that. The doctor doesn't really need to type in that as such because the information you're giving them is on that card. And when that online medical certificate is submitted, you go on your portal account and you pick up that medical certificate, you complete the minimal fields because it would have been pre-populated from your registration account, and you submit. When you submit that in a matter of seconds, we trigger your employer. We review the record and we trigger your employer. Hey, this person has been sick. This is the period we need you to confirm. In terms of their employment, when last did they work? The employer responds, and once that employer responds and the contribution criteria is there, that the system processes that record.
I've come across several examples where the employer, like you said, is still requesting the paper, right? And so with all the online activity and access, I still have to go get the form, fill out the form, go to my employer.
Paper for the doctor to sign? Is
that what
no,
you don't need that anymore.
So the doctor could confirm it right online.
So we encourage the doctors to get You get on the portal, use the healthcare feature, use the automated sickness benefit form instead of that physical manual form. We know that by labor law, you must submit to your employer the medical certificate in terms of your absence. But you on the portal, you can also screenshot that information and take it to your employer.
The
you don't necessarily need a form.
must also have an online portal as well.
Employers since July 2023 must submit their contribution statements mandatorily online, and it allows us for you to see that same contribution record on your portal account.
So if I'm an employee and I'm just applying for this for the first time, I should be able to go in and see my employer? Like how does that work?
There are several ways you can sign up. One, you're already registered with Social Security because you want visibility of your Social Security account.
Yes.
You go online. It's a pretty straightforward process on our website. We have a dedicated set of staff that would review the application that you created. We link you. We must ensure that you are that person before we give you access to that record, and you are linked to your Social Security registration record. That record, once you open it, you will see your contribution history. You will see if you've made a sickness benefit claim, and you can also view your registration information, your account information, your biodata. Another thing is that if you're changing your address, you no longer need to go into the office to do that. You can do that via your portal. If you're updating your banking information, and we encourage persons to update their banking information via the portal, you just need to upload your proof of your banking, and we approve that update on your record. You don't wait until you get sick or you're making a claim, because that is the bank account that we use to pay you your benefits.
Let's talk a bit about how we've seen this platform transform from its initial phase to now, to make it more convenient, more user-friendly, and to benefit employees and employers alike more now than it has ever before.
Well, you know, from the time that we started with the development of the portal, and eventually we got to that stage where we could have added the registration module, it's a continuous process of growth that we have been on, a journey of transformation, I should say. So we started off with the registration module and then the sickness benefit claim process, and a big part of that is what Ms. Nee was talking about with the healthcare feature. I just want to quickly plug that it's very important that you, as a worker, whenever you are in a situation where you get sick and you have to go to the doctor, encourage your doctor to use the portal so that they don't, you know, by habit take out the form and start to scratch and pen on it. No, to say, Doc, please, I'd like to get my sickness benefit as quickly as possible. Can you please just go on the portal and fill out that online form, if you will, there. And I also want to ask the doctors that they would get their accounts linked with their medical profiles so that they can perform that service. So there are lots of different aspects to it in that sense, but all of it works towards giving you, the insured person, that convenience that you need.
So continue on the transformation that we were talking about.
Yeah, so the sickness benefit, yes, and then now what is to come in August, at least that's when we're hoping that we can launch it, would be maternity benefit, that you would be able to go on the portal and do that process there, and then retirement pension
benefit, which is a big ticket item for us because we manage over 13,000 pensioners.
Wow.
And so there are two things. One, you'll be the new pensioner will be able to apply for their retirement benefit online. The 6 months life declaration, we're automating that process as well, which means that it will be easier for you, the pensioner, and it helps us as well to be more efficient because we have to have staff entering those information. And you know that the more human interaction you have with data, the higher your risk is. So our aim is to reduce that risk, to have more valid data, more timely data, automating our services, making it available to you wherever you are. And it means wherever you are, because if you're somewhere where you don't have internet or you don't have a device or you don't know how to, we have self-service stations at all our 9 branch offices. Come to us, ask for assistance. If you know how to, the computer is there for you to use. If you don't know how to, we give you assisted services. Right?
What's the process right now for doing that, though? Applying for your pension? It's right now it's
fully
physical,
manual. It's fully manual.
Well.
Yes, it's fully manual. You complete your form, you complete your employment history, you send it in, we do the review, we communicate back to you, and so it takes about 30 days right now for us to go through that process, because we want to make sure your contribution record is correct. So if you are on your portal and you're monitoring your contribution record, for the younger folks, for the older ones who we expect to make a retirement claim soon, we ask that you look at your contribution record, identify if there are any discrepancies, bring it to our attention before you get to that age, so that we could rectify, we can make it correct, address it, you see your complete history, so that at the time you turn 60, which is voluntary, 60 to 64, 65 is the mandatory age, your record would be correct. It would take a few minutes for us to complete that process. Right.
Interestingly enough, that it's still something that people talk about to ensure that they receive their pension through social. But in August, we're hoping that that's no longer going to be a problem. But with that said, you need to be registered on the online portal.
Yes, that's right.
Your employer also needs to be registered on the online for this to work effectively, right? The feedback from persons that are using your portal so far, what has that been like?
It has been excellent. We had a recent feedback where this individual was hospitalized, and as soon as they were able to, while still in the hospital, they were able to go on the portal and submit their sickness benefit claim. It means that before they were discharged, they had access to the funds that they are eligible for in their bank account. Again, everything is updated. So
people need to get online onto
Yes.
There's an
portal.
application. There's an app, like an app as well for your mobile device. At this point,
We're
Not as
working.
yet.
Okay.
It's not
Still
there
have
yet,
to
but
use the
it's
browser.
That's the
on.
next step.
Yeah, it's a part of the big picture.
right,
Right.
100%.
We have
So-
been going through this transformation for some years, and as we develop new features, we add them on. And so you see us pop up every so often. It's because we're working behind the scenes to improve whatever it is we deployed, listen to the feedback, and then we enhance the different features that we add on to the portal.
Well, we're looking forward to see these new features be implemented in August. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you all today.
And we encourage everyone to get on the portal. You up on the portal?
I think so.
You see? You see?
I am not. I haven't registered my portal.
You have to get on the portal.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of taking the time out and getting it done, honestly.
Doesn't take long.
These conversations remind me that I need to do it, just like it's reminding our viewers that they need to get it done as well.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you too.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it's going to be all about creating community with UWI's Alumni Network. We'll be right back.
Here's how to access your contribution history on the My Social Security portal. First, go to your browser and type ssbportal.org.bz. Enter your email and password, then click Log In. Once logged in, you'll see your full portal account on the screen. On the left-hand side, you'll notice a drop-down menu for added features. Click on History. Choose Contributions. Read the disclaimer, then click Continue. You'll now see a full window displaying your contribution history. In the table, each row represents a different year. For example, Let's look at the year 2024. Click on the row and a detailed breakdown will appear. This breakdown includes your employer's name, your earnings for each month and week, contribution type, the amounts paid, and that's how you can explore the new contribution feature on the My Social Security portal. It's quick, easy, and keeps your Social Security information right at your fingertips. Create your account today.
Oh man, one more scroll and my data is done.
Wait, who said anything about running out? Smart just dropped a more powerful plan that now includes social media data so you can scroll till your fingers cramp. Visit any Smart showroom to sign up today because connectivity just got even better. Smart, bringing people together.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned with us. On the couch now, we have some bright minds. Belizeans studying in Caville, UA, Barbados. And we have joining us the president of BELSAC, Mr. David, right? No, Cheyenne, sorry. Cheyenne, you'll forgive me. We have the culinary chairperson, right, Ms. Tara Sutherland. And then we have my good brother here. Introduce yourself.
David Mendoza.
David, right, so you're the vice president. David is the vice president. Good. I have on the name here, but I just had to make the clarifications. All right, so welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you all. You all are on summer break right now, right?
Yes.
Is that like a relief? Like, I get to come home and
How long
enjoy
do you
the summer.
get? How many months did I get off the 2 months?
We've been off since May.
Since early May.
Okay, when do you go back?
Next month.
Next month.
Next month. Okay.
They get good summer break.
What is it that you all do over there in Barbados when it comes to the association, the student association?
Right, so our primary focus is mainly dealing with the welfare of our students. However, as Belizeans studying at Caville, we're also tasked with promoting Belize to the wider Caville campus.
All right, so how does that look?
I mean, most of what we do are events around campus. So typically we'll have food sales, fundraisers. We'll definitely have events like expos and stuff where we show off our culture, whether it comes to punta dancing or the food that we make. And it's not necessarily from one portion of the country. We'll definitely try to make food that applies more to Agarifuna standard, Mestizo standard. We're trying to mix it up to show that Belize is a very distinct country because...
How does Barbados or Barbadians, Bajans, Bajans.
Yeah. Barbados is also correct.
Take into the dynamics of Belizean culture versus a very Black Caribbean way of life that they're used to?
Well, they mostly integrate. I have met a lot of Bajans friends or classmates too, and they're very open to our culture. You know, it's different, very different, but they're all welcoming and open to trying the idea of a new culture.
What kind of questions do you get? about Belize?
Mainly if we speak Spanish. They assume right away that we speak Spanish, what our food tastes like. Some of them question if we even Caribbean, but we don't mind.
That's why I asked my first question.
I leave it at the attitude and they say, all right, yeah, that's right. And then say how we react to soca.
Just suck on the teeth.
Cool.
That's all I don't have to do. Just suck on the teeth.
So Miss Sutherland, you're the culinary chairperson, right? That means you in charge of food?
Cooking.
Talk a bit about that and how do you work that?
Okay, so I feel like coming into this, especially our last fundraiser that we just had, it was a very new experience. I mean, I'm used to cooking a lot already, but cooking for the amount that I did, I would say it was challenging, but it's something I like doing, so I didn't mind. But at the same time, it was challenging because it was a lot. I was prepping for doing the same night, staying up late, so it's a new experience, and I'm very open to it, very welcome, but I do realize that, it's time that I do ask for help. I have to get my committee together to be able to do wider and do more, because I'm not only catering for Belizeans after this. When we do go back, I'm creating and making food for everybody, different countries, different communities as well. So
do you find that the association helps to keep Belizean students more grounded and connected to
yes,
home?
They do. We try a lot.
Build a community that makes life abroad easier?
Yeah. I believe we do.
Yeah, that's the point of the association and its executive at that. That's what we do. We mainly try to remind them of home and have that feeling, where they could come to us if they feel out of place.
Why is that necessary?
Well, I mean, KFL is a very diverse campus, and you're away from home. Most of us, it's our first time. I know when I went, I cried a lot. I wanted to come home. Nobody wanted to be back home more than myself, That's the reason I also joined the association. But to get that sense of belonging and so forth is necessary, when you're there having exams, you don't understand, you don't know what to do, how to figure it out. You could usually go to family, pick up the phone and say, Mommy, come for me, I can't do this no more, but you don't have that in Barbados, so that's where we step in and try our best to accommodate
when it comes to
connect the students.
When it comes to the system, right, the UWI system, how similar or different is it to Belize? And I ask this question because you're talking about assisting Belizeans navigating on this campus.
Right.
Does it also apply to perhaps application? Does it apply to housing? Does it apply to classrooms and how I could apply for classrooms? How all do you assist when it comes to the system of the university?
Right. I think my vice president is the perfect person to answer that question.
Even when it comes to those types of things, the university does offer its resources. Our greatest one right now in the country being the Global Campus. So visiting there, you can always ask your questions, whatever. But from our current executive, what we like to do is we like to outreach. I've talked to many people who are going this semester. It's going to be their first year. It's very important to get these basic questions out on whether you want to live off campus, whether this is your first time traveling, because these are very new experiences for people. And I understand that even being on my own there, I had experience traveling before with my family, but being by yourself, like in the thick of it, it's a completely different experience. And I know it's very scary for people. So it's most definitely important on our behalf to make sure that the people that are coming there, the Belizeans, that they're feeling comfortable in this new environment and that it's a safe environment to be in as well.
Do you encourage a balance between work and fun? Is that like a part of the culture?
Definitely. KFL life, like I said, is diverse, so we are always having events on campus. There's always parties to go to. Our weekdays actually start, our weekends actually start from Thursdays. Most classes finish, so so you have a 3-day weekend, but we do encourage people to remember to find that balance, because the priority of being there is your education. But we do encourage fun as well.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering if you have like initiatives that you do here in Belize in terms of garnering support, raising funds maybe, so that you're equipped when you go back to do the type of things you need to do.
Right. Could I have my culinary tuition later on our fundraiser coming up?
So we have been working on fundraisers. We just did one recently, as we said before, this last weekend. It was a success. We did a pastry sale. So we had jam rolls, coconut tarts, bread pudding, lemon pie, and and we had snow cones as well, and we did profit off of that, and we did sold out. We sold out everything.
Good.
So it was good feelings being our first fundraiser and our first initiative. So our next one that we're going to do is on August 1st. So we're doing a pibil tacos and a sausage wrap sale. So we're very much looking forward to that, and we've been writing letters, hopefully getting more donations and stuff, and getting more outreach, putting ourselves more out there to get more donations for when we go back. So yeah, it's all a working process.
When is that? Where is that sale going to take place?
It's gonna be at the what's it called? The
Eviltown Festival.
Yeah, the Eviltown Festival.
For Emancipation Day.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think that, I don't know how many Belizeans are currently studying at that particular.
Well, we don't have an exact number, but
I know they try to challenge the girls.
I
thought all would have introduced
our
themselves
school has
or
a
just,
system whereby we're not able to get an exact number. That's how it is, but we try our best to
go out and
know the freshers ahead of time
yeah.
and stuff like that. So I believe it's probably almost 100 or more students studying. And I wanted to say one last thing before we
please go ahead.
We have a freshers information session coming up for incoming students or persons who just want to know more about Caveville as well as the other two campuses, which is Mona and Trinidad. And so you could come to that on August 9th at the UWI Global Campus at 9 a.m.
Can we go around and you tell us, I think I asked offset, I'm not sure if I did on the set, what
you're studying,
and what year are you in?
Okay.
You've been here before, so I feel like you've been there for some time.
Yeah.
She's soon done. Why you say it like that?
Hi everyone, I'm Cheyenne, the president, and I'm actually there studying law. This is about to be my final year.
Love it.
Okay.
My name is Tira Sutherland, I'm a first year law student as well.
First year law student.
I'm David Mendoza. I'm also a first year law student with Tira as well.
What kind of law?
Well, it's not specific. It's
Not
not
yet.
general.
But what are you interested in? You're almost done.
Yeah.
What are you interested in?
Well, so far my interests have been in public international law, in civil law, public law, and also some criminal law.
Is it challenging?
Yes.
It's
It's
then first year, then they say yes.
It is. I said the same thing in my first year. It's no easy feat, but I encourage persons, if it's something you're passionate about, something you want to make a change or provide justice or so forth, and you like to read and read and read and read, sure, you can go for it.
What has your first year been like?
It's like I said, it's been an interesting experience. Like it's your first time being out there by yourself, but even like school-wise, academically, studying law is something that's challenging. They informed us about this before we went. Everything, like, we've been informed, but it's a task that most of us enjoy doing when we're there, because you're able to have these passionate and intimate conversations with not just your peers but your professors, your lecturers, and that allows for a very not just challenging experience but also a very intriguing experience, which definitely teaches you to be on your feet and critically think, which is skills that we will need in our field.
Yeah, I think you said it right, Cheyenne, read, because I think people take it for granted. You're just going to go up there and argue and have a debate, and you're going to win your case, and you're going to make all this money, and then go home,
there's a lot
right?
that goes into it.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you all, we rely on your voices. When you finish your studies and you're in the field, like earlier today, we had an attorney on set, right?
They were paying very much attention.
Right.
I was looking at, they were watching.
So like things like that. When we need legal perspectives and thoughts to inform the public, we rely on you. So it's important that you are prudent in your studies, but also at the same time we understand the human balance that you need, right? So we also, it's prudent that you all also find that balance, and that you also keep grounded in your culture, so that you come back home and you contribute to society. But once again, thank you all so much for joining us, and all the best in your studies. One more year, right?
Yes.
She's soon done. Congratulations in advance.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back with more Open Your Eyes. Don't go away.
your classroom in need of a transformation? Benny's B-Box is giving one lucky teacher the ultimate classroom transformation experience. Just fill out the Google Forms on our Facebook and Instagram pages. Be sure to tag and share #Benny's Classroom Makeover. But don't wait, submissions end July 31st, 2025. Visit our social media pages for more info. Don't miss your chance to get back to school ready with Benny's and B-Box.
Oh man, one more scroll and my data is done.
Wait, who said anything about running out? Smart just dropped a more powerful plan that now includes social media data, so you can scroll till your fingers cramp. Visit any Smart showroom to sign up today because connectivity just got even better. Smart, bringing people together.
As an athlete, orthopedic health is very important. Our bodies can be so strong and yet still so delicate. Injury is something that we cannot prevent. We could try to mitigate the risk of extreme injuries. However, it is very, very important that you know and understand your body.
As we get older, our bones are getting softer. It's hard to treat degeneration which already happened. The first treatment is lifestyle modification and the support of physiotherapists. I am Dr. Sergey Adonin, an orthopedic surgeon, and we are watching Caribbean Medical TV.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. Thank you so much for sticking with us and, joining us to have these fantastic conversations that we did this morning. So we want to say a big thank you to all of our guests for joining us today. And of course, thank you to our viewers for commenting, sharing your thoughts and opinions right here on Open Your Eyes. It is July 25th. I
think so.
Already? Yes, July 21st. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday to you from all of us here at Open Your Eyes. And if you have a birthday shout out or just a question or a comment, you can drop us a line right here at oye@channel5beliefs.com.
You can also catch us live on Facebook every weekday morning at Open Your Eyes BZ.
And check out our highlights on Instagram at OYEBelize. And you can also call us at our WhatsApp number at 675-2555. But Paul, it's Monday, so that means tomorrow is Tuesday. You know what that means.
That means Taco Tuesday. I'm just kidding. That means we have KTV, the remix season 7 live from the Bliss. I have to say, I appreciate fans showing up at the Bliss. I've seen that for the first 2 live shows. We've had quite a number of people turn out to watch it live. And I've always said, just based on a handful of experiences, that the show is better live, not because it's not awesome on television and YouTube and Facebook and all the platforms. It's just that when you go live, you get a direct experience, an in-person experience where the fans and the crowd, they're there versus in your home, you're with your family, but they're there. And so the reactions, the responses, and not only that, the voices.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
In your face, right?
No, but the live performances, I think sometimes, whether you're on your TV or your phone listening and so forth, the projection and the quality of the voice of your singers and so forth, they sound much better in person. You could actually hear their tone better. And so I encourage people to go.
But if you're not there.
Yeah, but if you're not there, you can also catch it live on KTV, the Remix Facebook page, and you can also catch it on YouTube as well. And of course, regular cable television. That's where I normally watch it. But like I said, people do get together for these watch parties, Paul. And if you are that fan that loves KTV, the Remix so much, and you gather your friends and family together, you get your popcorn, you get your pillows, you get your throw pillows, and you sit and you gather and you watch it as a family, there might be something in store for you.
Yeah. So there's a prize, right? So you have if you're not there, you could
have your watch party,
and you send your videos to 675-2555. That's our number.
Yes.
And the last family, Nayani Miranda and her family, they won the last watch party prize courtesy Santiago Castillo Limited, Madisco. Santiago Castillo Limited, and they won themselves a party package courtesy Santiago Castillo Limited, along with 4 tickets and a cocktail table to Bacchanal Sundays courtesy Mars Production Belize. So amazing prizes if you submit your videos to the watch party, and I'm sure there's going to be some more amazing prizes coming up this week. But
right, Paul. So with that said, ensure to tune into KTV The Remix tomorrow, July 22nd. It is alternative rock. That is the genre for tomorrow, so you don't want to miss those performances. But also join us again tomorrow here on Open Your Eyes when you open your eyes to start your morning, right? You miss your cue. Until then, be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon, Belize. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.